Good morning, good day, good evening. I'm as always your host, Bro Robertson, and today we are back for episode 86 of Tech of a Tea. I have no idea what is going on Nephite's screen either. He has not told me anything. All he said is I'm going to show up with this mask on. So, welcome back to the show. Now, do you care to explain why this is here? Where did you get it?
I bought this. Oh, I've got a surplus store down the road.
Okay.
Oh, I have to.
Listen up, I can't understand a word you're saying.
Okay, so there's a surplus store down the road, like half an hour, 45 minutes away from me, and they've got a whole bunch of surplus, like, equipment and stuff that you can pick up. And I'm like, I should get one, because when I was working at the IRS at the time, it's like they still had a mask thing going on.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, filter, English mask, $15 for the mask, $13 for the canister.
That was your reason. That was your reason for doing that. To be fair, I've seen some pretty creative choices that people have made. Like, yeah, it's one thing to like wrap a shirt around your face or things like that. But I've seen people with like the full on like painter's mask, like the ones with like the breathing things on the side. A fairly common one is like the dust mask that people wear. Like, you can just wrap something else. Like, you don't need that. You can like use literally anything else. Like, there's fabric stores. You can make like a what's the word? Bandana? No, that's whatever. You know what I'm talking. You just like wrap a bit of like fabric around your face.
Yeah. That's all I did is I had like, the Arab scarves, and I'd use those basically. Just wrap it around. Basically, I mean, they've even got fake masks that most people let pass. All they care is that your mouth is covered.
What do you mean?
You can have like the thinnest fabric ever, and it's like,
well,
okay.
Yeah, in Australia, there's no restriction on like what kind to wear, as long as you're covering your face. Like, no one, like that's what they care about here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was just one of those things where it's like some people take it to the extreme, so I'm gonna do it for fun.
Sure. I didn't see anyone walking around with a motorbike helmet. At least I can't think of anyone who did that. But I'm sure there had to have been at least someone.
Actually, my favorite ones are the guys that are like on their motorcycles wearing a mask, and it's like you're not wearing a helmet, but you're wearing like cloth mask. Why?
So, how you been anyway, man?
I'm doing pretty well.
What have you been up to? Nothing exciting?
Yeah. Trying to not let the garden die and things like that,
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's completely fair. It's autumn there now, or fall, or whatever you Americans call it?
We're getting into that point.
Fun times. Cooler. Yeah, it's slowly becoming spring here. Like, Australia's in this weird point where, like, when it hits spring, it's like, we're still in winter and we're in summer. Like, some days it's gonna be really cold, some days it's gonna be really hot. Just enjoy it. And suffer. Plus, I have hay fever, so that always makes it fun as well.
I mean, it's been raining mostly for the last couple of days, so I haven't really been outside to do very much. So, like, between Sins of a Solar Empire and Stellaris, my time has been, like, sucked up for hours.
Well, speaking of gaming, I'm sure you heard of the Twitch leak that happened.
Oh, yeah, that was the forcibly open source software movement.
Yeah, that was... So, if anyone who doesn't know about that, luckily it wasn't like, user information. It seems like whoever did this leak this time, unlike the Epic data leak, has some sort of like a moral compass. But they dumped out Twitch creator payments, source code for the website, and information about like an unreleased Steam competitor. But the source code is where it gets fun, because it's not like, okay, here's where it's kind of weird. Like, a lot of people are saying like, oh, source code, that's not that big of a deal. Like, there's open source software that exists. But there's something special about when software isn't open source. You tend to take shortcuts. You tend to take a lot of them.
Probably a few. I haven't looked at like the source. I haven't taken the time to download it.
Mm-mm.
I was mostly worried about the Epic leak for like very like obvious reasons, since I use them as my domain registrar as well.
Mm-mm.
So I worried about finding what was leaked for that, but Twitch I wasn't quite worried about, so I haven't gone to look at that yet. But it's kind of interesting to realize that some people can look at the back end for it now. They've got the full SDK for Twitch now.
Yep. Well, Twitch has tried to address obvious problems they have, but then there was the follow-up thing where someone decided to change every single game category to Bezos Pogface.
Oh yeah.
Let's see if we can find the picture. It's actually beautiful. Kotaku, sure. The Kotaku for once will be valuable. Yeah, here we go. I didn't even know this picture existed. But yeah, that's just been used to plaster, or at least it was for like a couple of hours or something, plaster everything. So clearly they still have access to parts of it.
Yeah. I know some people on 4chan were complaining because the magnet links they kept posting kept getting pulled down for some reason. Like the Epic one was able to stay up.
Sure.
So
4chan's got someone on the inside.
So 4chan's Twitch has someone on the inside of 4chan, or Amazon does.
That's what I meant. Maybe there's someone on the inside on both sides, and they're like trading information.
Maybe.
Yeah, this whole situation was kind of hilarious. I love the way the streamers actually addressed like the payout leaks though. Like none of them cared. Some of them some of the smaller ones did a bit, but like the big ones like Ludwig, Asman, Pokimane, people like that, they just took the piss out of it. Like some of them just started putting like their rank in the title.
Well, some of them did. There were a few that had issues with it because they got a lot of flack from the fan base for making too much money.
Yeah, I did see the big one I saw was with I think it was Sykkuno's fans who were like, "Oh my god, Sykkuno, you're rich, but you pretend to be poor." Like, do you see how many viewers Sykkuno gets? He's not fucking poor.
I know, it's like, okay, so you're this dude that says we should do this, but you're making millions. It's like, something's not matching here.
But like anyone who I thought it was already an established fact that all of the top Twitch streamers were rich. That's why I can't remember what the percentage is, but being a streamer is like it's the top job that kids want to do now. In previous generations, there was things like an astronaut and a scientist. Now it is a YouTuber or a Twitch streamer. Like, I thought this was already established knowledge.
I want to be a TikToker.
Oh yeah, no, I don't. Luckily, it's not easy to make money on TikTok. Otherwise, that probably would be the way that goes. Oh.
You cut out there for a second.
Yeah, you're completely Oh, we're back. Okay.
Okay.
What was I saying? Words, Twitch, money. Right. Anyone who didn't realize that Ludwig was rich is a fucking moron. Like, when he did the what was it, the subathon? Where he's openly said he made $1.5 million from that. Like, yeah, Ludwig's rich. Okay.
Oh, and then some people complain that wasn't everything that they made from Twitch, because that didn't include the merch and everything. That's like...
Yeah.
So that's basically just subs.
Well, yeah, that's where, like, someone like Pokimane constantly is shilling things like merch and has ad deals, and there's a lot more, like, that's... I would have to assume that someone like a lot of the big streamers where there are like 4 or 5 million are probably closer to 8 or 9. I would have to guess.
And I imagine their ads look way better, because I'm sitting there looking at mine, and it's like ads are like 2 or 3 cents a month.
Yeah, there's also that. Yeah. Well, there was also something else that sort of came out about this. This is why Destiny got banned, which is always funny that, yeah, I love Destiny. Anyway, but Destiny got banned for sharing some information from the leak. It turns out there's a couple of streamers who who do get special treatment, who, when they get banned, rather than being directed to the regular Twitch mod team, actually get directed to a specific staff member.
Ah, that makes sense.
But it's not like
what was it?
I would have expected it to be people like Amaranth and people like that, but it was it wasn't. Like, I don't know why Amaranth can keep getting banned and keep coming back. I don't know. Maybe they just like how much money they make that she makes them. But
Can't exactly get rid of your cash cows.
Absolutely, yeah. It was, I think it was like Rice Gum and a couple of people like that, which I didn't even know streamed. Where do we have the names here somewhere? I can't find the names now. But yeah, there are big Twitch streamers who get special treatment. Wow. Also, who would have thought?
You take care of the people that make you money. Some people don't quite understand that, but that's business.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't make money on Twitch anyway. I follow this story because I think it's kind of funny to see, partially to see the outrage, but also just to see like sort of what information is going to come out from the leak.
Apparently, this was only part 1.
That's what I've heard.
But we're still waiting for part 2.
Yeah, that's what they said with the initial leak, but at this stage, there's no evidence of a part 2. I don't know if they're waiting for something to drop it, or what the deal is, or if it just doesn't exist, and that's sort of just trying to scare Twitch into actually doing something. Judging by the fact they clearly still have access to parts of the back end, it's very possible there is a part 2.
Let's just wait and see.
I just hope that whatever this part 2 is, it's not going to be, hey, let's release the top Twitch streamers, like, addresses. Like, as anything else you want to release, fine. Don't do that.
If you want to release, like, the stupid backside deals that Twitch staff is making, I'm okay with that. If you want to release docs on people, please don't.
Yeah. Like, a lot of, like, was it, I think it was, I can't remember exactly who it was. I'm feeling like XQC or Shroud or someone like that who ended up having to like move from their house because people just kept showing up.
Gosh. Only other one person like that was Drachenlord from Germany, but that was like a 4chan troll pilgrimage.
Well, yeah, if you're talking about 4chan trolls, well, there's the obvious one is Chris Chan, but that's an entire podcast by itself.
That's a forbidden subject now.
I sort of got like interested in the Chris Chan saga like way later, which makes it great for me because there's already all of this amazing documentary on it. But man, there's the trolling. Look, trolling ups are bad. Don't troll someone for years and years of their life. That clearly does things to people.
They spent a lot of money on this one though. There's like funneled money for the lulz. So it's like the least you could do is like find some better way to help them.
Oh god. You know, the internet's kind of shit. As much as I like the internet, a lot of people on the internet kind of shit.
I've run into a few of those. I've learned to deal with those people that are a bit rough around the edges.
Well, yeah, you sort of have to deal with them if you're gonna do anything online. Like I it's not like I'm new to the internet. I've been like using computers, been online since like the early 2000s. So you sort of build up, especially if you're intentionally putting yourselves around those people, you sort of build up a way to deal with people who are just openly assholes for the sake of being assholes.
I just wish some people would like learn to like deal with those people instead of whine about it is all. It's like, you're feeding into them. The first rule of the internet is don't feed the trolls.
Well, unless you're gonna feed into them so hard that you just have fun with them, like I don't know if you watch Too Mad.
I don't think I've come across them, no.
Anyway, he's got this beef with K-pop stans right now, and they keep trying to like, they keep sending like legal orders to his house trying to sue him. And he's just turning this entire situation, like, and he's like starting shit on Twitter with them. His DMs are full of K-pop stans, and all he does is just turns it into content for his channel and makes thousands of dollars from it.
I mean, if I had that opportunity, I would do that too.
Yeah.
Because, like, I know I've had people DM me, like, Steam scams and stuff. I'm like, content.
I just have to deal with you being here. I can't really do anything with it. Well, that's boring.
I'm going to feed the scammer and make content out of it.
Absolutely. Well, that's the entirety of, like, scam bait content.
Mm-hmm. What was it? It was that, port scam. I had another one, like, this past week where a dude DM'd me. It's like, I accidentally reported your thing. He never replied back. But I'm like, dang it. There goes another content.
At least, look, if you're gonna try to troll me, at least put the effort in and reply if I reply. Like, I know you want to have, like, the most low-effort scam possible, but at least, like, put a bit of effort into it, please. I want to have some fun with you.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the screenshots that they do and the video stuff that they do isn't half bad. They do put effort into that, but they give up right away once you start to, like, so someone's going to email me? It's like, he knows about this already. Dang it. It's like, dang it. I took the wrong approach for that one.
Shit. Well, he's too competent with a computer. Well, look, even if you do sort of recognize that it could possibly be a scam, like, there's still some people who've fallen for things that, looking back on it, are, like, really obvious scams. Take the whole, like, the YouTube hijacking thing that happened a while back, where people were sending out emails through, what was it, Google Message, or I don't know what it's called, and it looked like it was coming directly from YouTube.
The delete your channel scam.
Yeah, that one, yeah.
Spiffing Brit fell for it too.
Yeah.
Like, it's wild.
Yeah, like, and the biggest one, or the big one I knew about was when Jim Browning fell for it, and his entire channel is scam baiting.
Like, yeah, here we are spying on an Indian scam call center, but I also fell for this scam.
Luckily, the guy who was doing the scam didn't seem to be doing it entirely maliciously. It was kind of weird, because he was entirely willing to, like, answer questions about the scam.
It was probably more of an awareness thing, like, guys, you should, like, stay aware of it.
Because that one could have been, like, seriously abused by someone who actually wanted to do it. Like, there's so many channels that get hijacked from these very, very easy scams, and that's why there's so many of these, like, crypto channels just upload the exact same videos, because they're just all, like, controlled by a bot farm.
They like acquire a channel and then, like, spit their stuff into it.
Yeah.
I think some of them even delete the original videos off the channel and then upload their own to it too, is what's bad. Yeah,
and then you're like, why is this random channel, like, I don't know how these, like, maybe I'm just like, giving too much, what's the word? Too much responsibility, too much... I have too high expectations for random people. I don't understand how you fall for one of those videos where it's like, hey, you can send me this much money and I will send you this much money back. Like the whole, the Twitter scam that happened ages ago where it's like, send me this much Bitcoin and I will double it.
Oh, my favorite ones are those chatbots that come up. Buy followers, buy viewers,
buy
subs. It's like, I even like making any money by like paying for people to sub? Am I losing money? Who's making the money here? Because I know Twitch's deal is 50% of the cut goes to them, the other half goes to you. And
So unless it costs half as much as a sub.
If I am gonna pay $50 and I get 25 back, I feel like I'm losing here.
Well, the problem that Twitch has is a lot of people look at like you've looked at like the Twitch, the back-end Twitch dashboard where it's like, hey, the path to partner, path to affiliate, whatever it is, like they very much gamify it. But it's like, hey, you get this many viewers, this many messages per whatever, and then you're ready to get the next evolution. Come on, guys, you know you want to work towards it, and like there's all the achievements there. Like Twitch has seriously gamified it, which I think is part of what encourages that. Like even if you're losing money, if you get a certain amount of subs, you get an achievement for it. Don't you want the achievement?
Yeah. Well, part of the problem too is like you can hit that mark, so like affiliate mark, but you don't have to keep that up.
Right.
All you care about is like, did you make at least $100 in the last year?
Yeah.
Okay, then you still get your payout. You still get to be an affiliate.
Sure.
If you didn't make at least $100, all that matters is that you made at least 25, so that they can get their cut, and then you can wait to get your payout later on.
Yeah, the I think my Twitch channel has hit the point where I could go affiliate if I wanted to, but it's just there's no value in doing that when my channel is so small. Like I've said this before, but restreaming is too valuable. Like the Twitch. Actually, there is a topic about that I didn't want to talk about. Twitch is really bad for growth, and if you're just doing stuff on Twitch, you're like, there's a reason why all the big channels have YouTube channels. Like, you want to direct people from a platform like YouTube where it actually has some growth perspectives over to somewhere like Twitch.
Yeah. Well, it's a really hard climb when you're just using Twitch. And like even streamers that don't have a YouTube, they're like, well, you've got to have Twitter, be active on Twitter and this, that, and the other. And it's like, so you still have to rely on other things because their stuff doesn't work because it's ranked by viewers. And if you're like in this category that had like Fortnite category and you've got 0 viewers, no one's going to watch you.
I think the metric is if you're not in the first 10. How many I think it's first 8. If you're not in the first 8 channels, I think the discoverability drops to like 20% or something ridiculous like that. Because most people don't scroll down. Like if you're looking for a channel to watch, most people are going to pick one of those top channels.
Yeah. And that's where some people, they like take their phone and like, here's a viewer. So you've got at least one, so you're above everyone that's zeros all at the bottom.
Yep. Or you could, look, if you have multiple browsers installed, you could always spin up multiple instances like that as well. There's a lot of little things you can do. But,
you can game it, but
what was the thing? Right. We were talking about, like, paying for, like, views and stuff, but Twitch actually is testing a feature where, like, you could just pay them to do that.
Really?
Yup. This happened a couple of weeks ago.
I've not heard of this.
Yeah, no one was really talking about it. I don't know why no one did. I don't know if they decided to not push it through.
Basically like staking.
So if anyone just listening, Twitch is testing a feature that lets viewers pay to promote streamers. The program lets viewers pay cash to put streamers on Twitch's front page. So literally it's the same thing as like buying views. But at least in this case, it's buying real views. Like you're putting yourself...
It's basically pay to win.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, pretty much.
Let's see, allow viewers to search for streams, blah, blah, blah. That talks about the tagging stuff, yeah. Okay. I'm sure they boost certain tags above others too. Which seems kind of stupid, but you know.
Twitch is it's a platform. It's a platform, that's for sure. Oh, I did see something that I feel like it's going to become the new Twitch meta.
What was it? It was the speed dating one.
Yep.
Wasn't it?
Yep. So we all know about like the hot tub meta, but we can evolve the hot tub meta. So we keep the bikinis. I guess we don't need hot tubs anymore. I guess you don't need a hot tub to be in a bikini anymore. You can just sit there. Anyway, what you do is you abuse the parasocial relationships. So you have a bunch of dudes who are in love with the streamer, and you say, if you pay me a certain amount, we can go on a speed date on stream. So this leads into you actually, like, you know, building that parasocial relationship further, because now you're actually having a conversation. The person doesn't give a shit about you, but you're now having a conversation with them. Plus, the streamer makes a shitload of money from that.
Well, and this goes beyond that, because you're not just paying for their OnlyFans to get a customized video that you can watch over and over. You actually get a clip that you can refer to where you actually talked to them.
Yep.
And you can play that over and over now.
Yup. I have a feeling this is going to become the new meta.
I just wonder how long it's going to last.
Until Twitch decides they don't want to be a porn site. That's when.
Well, I mean, Chatterbait's here still.
Honestly, I'm surprised Twitch hasn't just like fully embraced it at this point. Just like,
I mean, making the money? How much money do they make from this stuff? And they're like,
well,
there are plenty of other sites that have like a XXX tag too, I think, as well.
Well, ads are sort of like the weird one when it comes to like I think this is the only reason why Twitch hasn't fully embraced it. A lot of advertisers don't want anything to do with the porn site. Like if they did that, they'd have to start, you know, getting like the Pornhub style ads where it's like, oh, do you want to like grow your dick another 20 inches? Do you want to like there's a sexy person next door. There's fucking all of this stupid shit. Like that's the sort of ads they'll need to start getting if they were to do that. And I don't think Amazon wants to be attached to that directly, even though they're more than willing to like sell sex toys.
Well, that's like half my spam box too. So
What, sex toys?
Yeah. Well, I mean, bigger. Look, I'm really hot for you on cam. I'm really wet. I'm like, thank you. I needed that. I needed a good chuckle. Thank you.
Look, I'll take that over the scammers.
It's like, it's in the spam folder. I know it's spam, and I know you're just looking for money, so at least I can get past that. The other thing is just ridiculous, because you're trying to steal from people.
The internet. This is just slowly turning into the internet is... The internet just encapsulated in an episode. Like, everything is shit.
Basically.
Oh, lordy lord. So, what have you been playing lately?
Mostly strategy games. I have had some like Postal Brain Damage mix in there because they released the demo for that in the last couple of weeks. It actually runs really smooth. It's one of the least janky things, and it runs really well on Proton too. So it's kind of fun to kind of fun to see it run like that well out of the box.
Okay, I was gonna say it looks good. It looks like a game from like 2010, but like, hey, it might be fun.
They went for the boomer shooter aesthetic, and then they also took some like modern things from it as well. So it's like one of those like retro style boomer shooter, but with like a lot of cool modern things in it.
Right.
So, yeah. And I found out about the grappling hook on the shotgun. I'm like,
I thought that was just you describing it as a boomer shooter. They describe it themselves as a boomer shooter.
You haven't heard of the boomer shooter genre.
No, I haven't. This game is a boomer shooter, so it will involve a lot of shooting enemies. They will gib also low-res cartoon people in lingerie or bathing suits. No, I've not heard of boomer shooter before. Boomer shooter.
Boom, Quake, Duke Nukem, those basically kind of fall in the boomer shooter, like run and gun, like enemies everywhere and shoot everything.
Right.
Ones where that's basically all you do.
You know, it sort of makes sense to separate that out from like the modern FPS, because like, you know, the Call of Duties, Battlefields, things like that are a very different style of first-person shooter.
Mm-hmm. Whereas the boomer shooters are more fast-paced, and they're just like wanton destruction.
Okay, no, that makes sense. I actually just had not heard of the genre term before.
I think that was a term that may have popped up more recently is why.
I'm seeing references to it as early as 2020. Oh, wait, is there... No, that's just shoot. Yeah, it seems like 2020, 2019 might have been when it started showing up.
That would have been the first or second Realms Deep, which is basically E3, but specifically for boomer shooters and retro style games.
Sure, okay.
This is done by 3D Realms too, so they are like just doubling down on that. All.
Let's see. What has 3D Realms done? I'm recognizing the name. I can't think of the games they've made.
They were the studio that did Duke Nukem. Then they were also the publishers for like Ion Fury and a few others as well. There's like let me look.
Wolfenstein 3D apparently.
Wolfenstein as well.
Right, Shadow Warrior. Okay, yep. Okay, yeah, okay. I know the studio now. That makes sense. Also, they did Math Rescue, whatever that is.
Probably one of those edutainment games.
Probably. Where did those go anyway? What happened to the days of edutainment games?
I think they got replaced by sexy bikinis and military simulator shooters.
Yeah, probably. Well, look, I think parents have just stopped caring as much of like what their kids are playing. Like, you're playing Battlefield 2042 and you're a 10-year-old? Well, that's fine. Doesn't matter. She'll be right.
Talking these games kind of started in an era where like you had Bible games on your consoles, and now we're all the way over here where like if it's remotely Bible related, it's usually violent or sexy.
Yeah, it's fair. I wonder when the last Bible... I've not heard of a Bible video game in a very long time. List of Christian video games on Wikipedia. Wow, okay, there's one that came out in 2021. The game for the PS4, Our Church and Halloween RPG series. Life Academy, Jesus in the Matrix. What in the world? What is this? Okay, this looks like a shitty indie game by the looks of it.
Most of them are. I remember there was this like bullet hell one that called David and Goliath that like got from some neighbor. It was just you as David getting upgrades for your sling, like shooting lasers and stuff eventually.
You can't exactly take the concept very far.
Yeah, well, I mean, David and Goliath plus bullet hell equals let's make sci-fi aliens and stuff in a Bible story.
Yeah, that's fair. There's a game called I Am Jesus Christ. Okay. IGN did a review of it back in 2019. Sure. Apparently the genre still exists. I've now discovered that Christian games are still a thing, and so are boomer shooters. What's up?
Hey, there's this one called War in Heaven. I'm thinking can't remember. think it's one. There's one built on the Quake engine, I remember, and like something similar where like all the enemies you fight are basically Romans, and when you shoot them with your sword, they kneel and pray. But I can't remember what the name of it was for the life of me.
Oh god, this is old. This is very old. Wait, there's a fan base for this game for War in Heaven, and someone made a War in Heaven fighting game.
Oh, there it is. That's the one, I think.
What is it?
Catechumen. Catechumen.
Catechumen.
Yeah.
Catechumen.
This would be in the 2000.
How in the world do you spell that?
Catechumen.
Ah, okay, yeah, we found it. Cool.
Ah, that's the one I was thinking of.
Okay, let's see. What is he holding? Is that supposed to be a sword?
Yes.
That's
It's your sword of light.
aha. Sure, okay. Wait, is that a railgun later in the game? What is that? Is that certainly not a sword at this point? I'm gonna send you the picture. That's certainly not a sword.
No, that's a double sword, actually, if I remember
Double
correctly.
Shut the fuck up. Shut. No.
Hey, weren't very creative. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, sure, okay. Yeah, we'll call it creative, I guess. Why not?
Because I think it was Civi that did a review of it that's like really like takes it down a notch, but it's hilarious.
Video games. Speaking of games that should probably not should stay. You know what? No. We'll say should stay in the past. And if you want to go and play them, just go and play the old version. Did you hear about the GTA trilogy remaster?
I heard about that coming to Switch and everything else.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be on iOS as well. So what will it be on? It'll be on Xbox Series X, Xbox One, PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Switch, PC, and I could have sworn that Muda was saying it would be on iOS as well. I don't want a remake. Can we not?
Well, I mean, the other one is the KOTOR remake from Star Wars, and it's like had a writer for it they hired, and it's like this person is like a feminist writer. It's like, wait, why do they need to rewrite anything in a remake?
Well, the problem with a remake of GTA is one of the big things that makes GTA that makes each GTA their own special thing is the radios you have in the car. And
oh yeah, the copyright stuff too.
Yeah. And there's a lot of music that even in just the PC versions of the game at this point have been removed through updates because, well, the license has expired a long ass time ago. So it's sad. Like if I want to go back and play, like the best way to go back and play like Vice City, GTA 3 or San Andreas is honestly to emulate the PS2 versions. Don't play them on PC, just go back and play the old PS2 versions.
Oh, don't buy the neutered version. Play the good one.
I'm curious. Oh, sorry.
Some people complain about the same thing where like content gets removed or things because of whatever from like old games from like Doom, for example, where they changed the red cross to the green cross because my red cross got mad. So
right, yeah.
It just feels bad that like because of these things, people have to retroactively remove something from a game because for some reason their license doesn't apply anymore. Content, even though they're not developing it anymore.
Like, video games are a weird one because, especially now that there's so many old games that did have like copyrighted music in them, and those licenses have long expired. But nowadays, with the fact that you can go and update it at any point, you can very easily just go and remove that stuff that you'd sort of expect to be there when you first played the game. I'm sort of curious to see what changes are actually going to be made to this remake, though. Whether it's going to be like, hey, we just released an HD version, or if it's going to be they actually did any work.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, they would like to see like models redone and stuff, and maybe some like jankiness cleaned up. That would be the extent of it. No storyline rewriting. I know in some cases, some of these companies, when they do a remake, they like to add in like new content, new content, new content.
Right, but I feel like they're gonna. The problem with new content costs money, and if we can make the laziest remake possible, well, hey, let's just release it with HD textures. Why not?
Oh, that's the difference. Like, you can do HD textures and models, and that still takes work to work on. And some people are willing to pay for that because they're getting an updated game that runs on current hardware.
Throw everything through an upscaler.
It looks nice. Huh?
Just throw everything through an upscaler. Do no work.
That does work sometimes, actually, an upscaler. It works quite well with Doom.
Pixel art stuff tends to be fairly... Like, the problem with older pixel art stuff is it doesn't look good on modern screens because the resolution's different. It doesn't work as well when you start getting the higher resolution stuff, though.
Yeah, it kind of depends on your filtering, too.
Yeah, that's true. So. I don't know, I haven't played too much around with filtering when it comes to emulating stuff. I try to go with, like, basically just a straight upscale. So, like, I'll play, I'm playing through Shin Megami Tensei 3 right now. I've upscaled that to 4K, and it looks pretty good. There's a lot of stuff that it's not as clean as I would like it to be, but it certainly still looks pretty good.
There are just some things where it's like, if you can upscale it and get a clean pixel art versus the fuzzy filtering a lot of things want to apply, it looks really, really nice. There's some 3D games that like have the lower resolution that I feel bad because it just looks all messy when it would probably look nicer just having like crisp pixel art for the textures instead.
I think when it's so low res, like when it's to the point of something like Final Fantasy VII, it sort of has the same effect when you upscale it. Like, you know, you're not adding extra detail to it, but you're getting those very clean models back. Like, you play Final Fantasy VII expecting it to look like a very early PS1 game.
Yeah, and if you're playing it on a small screen, it doesn't really quite matter.
But like, this is why, like, if you go and upscale, like, you know, anything on like the Game Boy or GBA, like, they'll look as good as you would expect them to look. Like, all you're doing is just bringing those clear lines back.
And a lot of emulators have like really good filtering algorithms that like do the smoothing really nicely too.
Yeah.
I do tend to shy away from them for the straight pixels, and that's about it. So
yeah, I don't
stick that way.
I don't like to see smoothing stuff. Like, I get it. I would much rather have like the way the art style was sort of intended to look.
There's also like the CRT like filters you can apply and stuff, or like the pixel TV ones as well. So like those can look really, really nice.
I haven't really played with those ones much yet. I can't really speak for how that would look. I think one game that doesn't upscale super well, but does have a really good fan project to make it upscale well, is Final Fantasy VI. So, that game had really beautiful 2D backgrounds with 3D models walking in front. When you upscale it, the 3D models look absolutely perfect, but the backgrounds, they don't. So there's actually a mod project that takes some like the early concept art and upscales based on that. It redraws some sections and like actually tries to make the game look really, really good.
Sounds very, very nice. I know some people don't appreciate when fans do that, but there are others that do. And so someone putting in that time and work to do it is just really awesome to see.
I'm happy with people doing whatever they want with a mod project, but when it's something that I'm going to run myself, I like to keep it sort of as close to the original art style as possible. I'm not the sort of person who's going to go play Skyrim and then add in Thomas the Tank Engine. But a bear playing a lute, that is a very different story.
That's true. I know Morrowind in particular, they've got the Tamriel Rebuilt project where they're like expanding so that you actually have the main land of Morrowind with the island. And they've put a lot of effort into like keeping the style the same and consistent with like the content that's already there. And I really appreciate that and love that point that they're like working on it. And they've been working on this for like well over a decade now, expanding it. On top of it, they've also got like HD textures that you can add if you don't want the old low scale graphics textures as well.
I think a really cool project when it comes to the Elder Scrolls is Skywind. Skywind is always like, I've been like sort of paying attention to that one for a very long ass time, and you know, rebuilding an entire game, an entire different game takes a long time. I've never actually played Morrowind. I would like to go back and actually play it, but I don't know how poorly that game is aged.
So if you're playing on the original engine, you do have a few extra bugs, but it's really janky.
Sure.
If you're going to play like modern, OpenMW is the way to do it. It has a couple extra quality of life stuff with it. There are some of the bugs that like aren't really like feature stuff that aren't in the engine, but it runs really, really well.
Right.
So having the contrast between that and like the Xbox version, it's like I prefer the one OpenMW over like the original engine, in spite of being able to like take advantage of glitches to buff my character up like really, really badly from one.
Right. I'm waiting for Bethesda to actually, you know, release a new game.
I think everyone else is too.
Like, did you hear about the what was it? There was a Skyrim anniversary version they wanted to release. The 10th anniversary edition, yeah. Where
I heard about that one.
Yep. Did you hear about the new features? Because that has new features.
You mean the expanded fishing and all the Creation Club content in it?
Yup.
So exciting!
I know, except that, you know, there's been mods for fishing since the game came out. Very exciting.
I know. I still have the original version that I play with mods. Not the special edition with the Creation Club. The original edition in Steam that has the workshop content and runs really, really smoothly on Proton.
Yeah, it's so weird that they re-released the game and it just runs completely differently in Proton. Let's actually have a look. How many versions? Oh god, there's so many fucking versions of Skyrim. Actually, no, they're all gold right now. Okay, that's actually impressive. I wonder if I know one of them used to be silver. But it's gotten better, I guess. That's good. You can even play the VR version, which I don't know why you'd want to do.
Unless I don't know either. Unless you're playing like the original VR version, which probably still runs really smooth. Which I found really cool because I'm sitting here like playing Skyrim at 60 FPS on Proton while also running a YouTube video off on the side, and it's like, I like this.
There was something I was going to say about Shit, I forgot what I was gonna say. I completely forgot. Anyway, I originally played Skyrim on the PS3. I had that experience of Skyrim, and that was not a good Skyrim experience. Besides, obviously, like the
Yeah.
shitty load times, the PS3 version was a little buggy, to say the least.
Not akin to anything else that you find in Bethesda games.
No,
That's
definitely
pretty
not.
standard. I mean, they even did really well to port the bugs to Switch as well.
I had a bug that soft locked my main story. So there was a quest early on where you have to like take, like the claw things, and there's like the symbols on it, and you unlock up the door, that thing. Yeah, there was one time when you just put the claw in and it just didn't open at all. Just stayed there. You reset, stayed there. Came back, it stayed there.
If you're on console, you can't just TCL through the wall either.
Nope. You're stuck there. You gotta just wait until they patch it or make a new save file or do something. Well, to be fair, I didn't play the story content for the first like 100 hours I played that game.
That's pretty easy to avoid. I know in some of the older games, they like make you lose the game if you avoid the main storyline.
Oh jeez.
So Daggerfall was really aggressive about that, apparently. Like, if you didn't go and, like, do the next step in the storyline, you would get hounded by guards and arrested.
Oh, Jesus.
Treason. Yeah. And I think they basically encouraged you to do your own thing in Morrowind, so you could continue to do the main story or forget about it, and they didn't care. So I think Daggerfall was the one where they were really aggressive, and they, like, mostly hands off with the aggressiveness and time-based stuff in Morrowind.
How do you feel about like time-based, like games that are entirely time-based, where it's like, hey, if you don't do this mission by this point, that mission just doesn't exist anymore?
It works depending on the quest. So there are some things where it's like with Skyrim, like you can just like start a quest and forget about it and come back, and it's like sitting there waiting for you. Like from an immersion standpoint, really, why?
Yeah.
The convenience, like we made it so that the normies and plebs could play it and like enjoy it. It's like it's just a grind fest at that point. Like I'm gonna go build my house and then come back and worry about dragons.
Sure.
Whereas a time-based thing means like, okay, so how do I want to budget my time? Do I really want to accept this quest right now? So it kind of puts more like onus on you to make a decision versus like pick it up and then forget about it later and like, oh yeah.
Okay. I'm the sort of person who sort of wants to do all of the content the game has to offer. And like there's a lot, like take Persona for example. If you want to do everything that game has to offer, you sort of like there are guides for how to like order out every single day to get like the absolute best stats and do all of the content. And as much as I like Persona, like that's one of the things I didn't like playing. Like that's one of the that kind of annoys me.
Well, I know for a lot of games they structure it so that you can experience all the content, but you have to play it multiple times to do that.
Yeah.
Whereas Skyrim is set up to where it's like, okay, you've joined every faction that hates each other, and they still hate each other, but you're the leader of all these factions now, so technically they don't hate each other, but they still do. So, but here's the game, and go have fun.
Yeah, Skyrim doesn't really... There's a lot of, like, weird immersion things like that. Like, you can become, like, the savior of the world, but, like, you still get harassed by guards.
Like, I saved you from the dragon. Give me a break. Come on.
It's like, oh, no, I know it's sort of like a running joke with the game, but, like, you hit a chicken and everyone tries to kill you. But, like... There's other things like that, like, you sort of, I don't know, I like Skyrim. I like it for all its flaws and all of its like weirdness, but man, one day Elder Scrolls 6 will maybe exist. Like GTA 6, one day
Maybe.
that might exist as well.
There's a certain place in my library where Skyrim is, and it's mostly for mindless gameplay. And then there are others where like I've got other stuff for like more immersive, like I'm sitting here for 6 hours and like just grinding out economies and resources. Just kind of like itching my god complex.
Yeah, I don't tend to play games for that long, but there's one game recently that sort of got me playing a lot of it. I started playing Final Fantasy 14, and man, that game's really fun. I got to the point where I don't know if you ever played that, but the class system's called jobs. So I got to the level where I could change my job, and you can play every single job on the same character. So I sat there for like 6 hours leveling up my crafting and gathering skills. I didn't even do any combat that day. I'm just like, I want to go hit some rocks. And it sort of it I guess activated like the RuneScape part of my brain. And I just played it for a while. Like, why am I doing this? What am I doing with my time?
Grinding out soft clay for hours just to make a bunch of money on the Grand Exchange.
I don't even know what makes money in RuneScape anymore. Like, I remember back when like maple logs were worth a lot, and willow logs were worth a lot before like the whole bot situation.
Well, soft clay used to be like one that made a lot on the Grand Exchange, and I would grind that out like a lot, and I had a good stack of like I think 100,000 gold that I lost like sometime when I like was away and not playing RuneScape for a while. It's like, dang it. All my holiday items that I had for like years of playing, gone.
Sad. I never want RuneScape to be in my life again. I played it for 7 years. That's enough. It taught me how economies work. It taught me how to manage my resources. Apart from that, I don't want to see it again.
I'm the kind of person like, so in strategy games, I'll like work on my economy. Like I've brute forced economies multiple times. It's like resources. Then once I have my economy set, if I'm allowed to do that, here comes the army.
Right.
Just steamroll everything. It's all mine.
My brain is too small to understand strategy games. I can never understand. I've tried to play them, and every time I'm like, I don't know what's happening. I don't care to know what's happening. Can I just go and hit a tree? Let me go and hit something.
Yeah.
Like I do like small scale strategy, like you're managing, like Final Fantasy Tactics sort of stuff, like where you're managing like a small group. That I can deal with, but like the large army scale tactics, like I don't want to play this. Go away.
Yeah. Well, I've kind of got like this like thing where like games that I play the most, it's kind of cyclical, like the kind of games it is. So like at one point during the year, I feel more like the simulator type games. The other part of it, I feel more like strategy, and like then there's shooters and everything else, and it just kind of like depends on the phase.
Yeah, it's fair. I typically just stick with like RPGs and stuff like that. Like there's some other things I do like, but most of the time it's that. There's a couple of shooters I like. The problem with shooters is like I like to stream a lot of stuff, and I find that streaming a shooter doesn't really work too well for me. It takes too much of my concentration to play the game at a decently playable point. Playable level, I guess.
I've noticed some of that too, somewhat. Is the way I've been doing Morrowind on the Xbox is I've got my TV set off to the side, and then it goes into the Elgato. And so I'm sitting here staring at the TV over here, and like I've got to look over at chat over here. And then sometimes I hit that point to where it's like, I'm just fighting something and I don't pay attention to the screen, and sometimes it's got like 4 or 5 new messages that like when I look over it's like, oh crap.
Yeah. I try to keep my chat like as close to what I'm looking at as possible. I've got it like just off to the side of my main screen.
Yeah, that's normally what I do. So I've got like my second monitor with like Restream pulled up in chat and browser, and then OBS right next to it in the master position. And then my main laptop monitor basically has whatever I'm playing.
Right. That makes sense.
And OBS does this weird thing sometimes where it like widens up the size for no particular reason when I select them.
Up the sides?
So like it resizes itself to be slightly wider, and whatever reason, without me doing a keystroke, like telling it to widen up at all.
That might be OBS not being able to operate at that size or something. I don't know. Like I've noticed that when I open up Handbrake, I can only shrink it down to a certain size, so that might have something to do with it. I'm not entirely sure.
Well, it's not that bad, being as I can still see chat okay.
Sure. Do you,
it's just slightly weird.
What version of OBS do you actually use? Like, do you use, like, the native version, Flatpak? What do you use?
The native one.
And what distro are you on?
On Artix currently.
Oh, so wait, you don't have like the do you use like the browser plugin to have embedded chat?
No, I don't use the embedded chat in OBS. But I'll have it set up to do it. It just breaks on occasion for whatever reason.
Right, so you So you are using like a plugin to like do you have alerts set up or anything like that?
I do, but they break on occasion, and the plugin is the Qt WebKit plugin. I think I've been using for a while.
Yeah, I don't use the plugin anymore. I use the problem with the version of OBS in the Arch repos is it's shit. The Arch team have left a bug in it and just don't want to fix it. It's a problem with like it's using there's a Chrome embedded framework that OBS uses, and the version that OBS needs is different from the version in the Arch repos. So basically the way that I've got it set up is with a version from the AUR that has like a specific version just for OBS and does it like that, and then I get all of the extra nice features that OBS has, like embedded browser, embedded chat. I don't get things like the Twitch or YouTube integration because those rely on the OBS team's like keys for those sites, which is annoying. I would have to use the Snap version to get those, and I don't want to use the Snap version.
I think I started to set that stuff up, but like I'm just like, okay, I'm done for now. Now.
That's fair. Well, if you're not gonna if you don't rely on that being there, it's not a big deal, I guess.
I
just find it.
I just kind of use it basic.
You were saying something about an Elgato before. What are you actually using?
I got the Elgato Cam Link.
Okay. I was gonna say.
So got one of those cheap $10 HDMI USB things, and it's like I sat there, I plugged it in, I looked at it, and it's sitting there running at like 10 FPS. So I messaged a seller from eBay, and I'm like, hey, this is a thing. Dude's like, oh, you just need to quit more application. It runs just fine. I'm like, I am not doing that. I don't think I need to do that, really. You're full of crap. I just dropped the money on it, and the $100 on it, and got that, and it's been working just fine, except for sound somewhat, which might be something with my RCA to HDMI converter.
I don't use the sound through the cam link, so I can't really talk about that. I just use the cam link for my my camera. But the FPS problem you had is by default it's gonna recognize the color space as different from what it should be. In OBS you can swap that to I think it's like BGR3 emulated, and then it will work fine.
I thought I played around with it with the cheapo one I got, so But
Wait, so
the Elgato works just fine.
wait, when you play games, then do you use the OBS preview to play it?
No, I don't. Like, I've got a splitter that
Oh,
goes
you
into the
splitter.
TV and then into the converter. So
Oh.
there's like, I think half a second of delay between like what I see on the TV and what's in the previewer.
Mm-mm.
So
Right.
it's
Okay.
just like, that's kind of janky. And I'm like, I was planning on playing on the TV anyway, because I know that's what other people have done, like speedrunners and such. And it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I like that setup. I had to like search Amazon for like longer than I should have in order to find the right splitter because everything wanted to go like male to female splitters versus the other way around that I needed.
Aha. Okay.
Needed male in to male out both ways.
What? Why?
So I plugged the console into the splitter and then
Right.
plugged the splitter into the TV, and then the other half that splits off goes to the converter as well into the computer.
Aha. Okay. Do you want to know how my jank setup works? So I use I don't know if I can lift it up. Can we get it? No. Okay, there we go. I have a what is it called? Ava Media Live Gamer Portable 2 Plus, the greatest.
I was looking at those ones too.
It works really nice. It's plug and play on Linux.
Mm-hmm.
It is recognized as a webcam. Anyway, the way I do my audio is hilarious. So there's probably a better setup for this. You can do audio out to the Live Gamer Portable, and it's supposed to have a button to change the volume level. The button does not work. I don't know if it's just a problem with my unit or what it is. So what I do is I send the audio into OBS, and then I listen to the preview of the audio from OBS.
Yeah. I'm looking at making my setup even more jankier by going from the splitter taking the audio lines into one that'll convert it into 3.5 millimeter for microphone. And then because my laptop has the combined port, I've got to get a splitter that goes headphone audio and microphone audio so I can split it off, so I can plug 3.5 millimeter in as the microphone and then my headphones in to the headphones.
You can certainly, like, there's some jank setups you can do if you just put some effort into it. Like, you'd be surprised by, like, how many adapters into adapters you could get working.
Yeah. Well, like I said, my biggest assumption is that the audio is just messed up through the converter, the HDMI converter. It might mean buying a different one instead of a cheapo Chinese one.
Right.
Walmart sells these suckers like a little bit more, so I've been thought about getting one of those, which I still might.
If I want to play something older like that, I'm just gonna play it on emulator. Like, it's too much effort. I get the appeal of hardware, but like, you know, I'll just emulate it.
Yeah. Well, it just feels bad because some of these just sit and gather dust, and it's like, okay, how can I take advantage of it? And how else can I justify this purchase of a hard copy game on taxes?
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I totally get that. I just like the easy approach. If I can just like spin it up a couple of minutes, not have to deal with like dicking around with all that sort of stuff, do upscaling things like that. I have a beefy enough computer where I can sort of where it makes sense.
Well, running a GTX 1050, I want to do recording with game footage.
That's fair.
This kind of like makes it easier to do that as well.
And GPUs they're getting cheaper. They are getting cheaper. They're still a little bit expensive though.
Yeah. Well, I would need to get the eGPU set up so that I could hook an external GPU up.
Right.
Laptop.
I was actually looking at GPU prices recently. So Actually, let's go to Newegg and see what they're like in the US. Because a 6600 XT is $900 here, but that's 900 Australian. So that puts it around, I think, 600. 6600 XT. But I looked at, like, comparison. Don't show me the Australian prices. Stop it. I came here for specifically for the American prices.
750.
Oh god, you guys are getting shafted. What the fuck?
That's the way it normally is for us.
No, it's actually cheaper to just buy a card from Australia and just have it shipped to America at this point. What the fuck?
That include shipping? If it's free shipping, maybe, but
yeah, well that would I could guess that would add to it. Fucking hell. But I actually was comparing my card to a 6600 and I was like, even though the card is very expensive, is the boost justifiable? And it's like the difference between my card and the 6600 in some games is like 10 FPS per $100. Like, My plan at this point is I'm probably going to wait until the next generation of cards, and if the cards are still insanely expensive, I feel like the difference between my card and the new card will be so great that even though the price is so massive, like, the purchase still can be justified.
Well, if you're getting, like, close to the cutting edge, then you've still got, like, a good number of years you can go without, like, needing to upgrade.
Yeah, I got a... What is it? A RX 570 or something. Is it 570? I don't know what it's called. So it was like... It's not a top-end car by any means.
Yeah. But it still runs pretty well.
Yeah, it runs well enough. How old is this card anyway? I don't even know. When did this card come out? 27... It came out in 2017. Fuck, that was a while ago. Maybe that's why I can justify it. But I don't know. GPU price is still fucked. I hope they come down at some point. That'd be nice, I guess. Otherwise, I guess we can all just buy Steam Decks.
Yeah. Steam Deck isn't half bad looking.
Yeah, obviously it's, like, slower than what I'm currently running, but, like, it's also a very small screen, so you can justifiably play on a low resolution.
But I think it's still bigger than the Switch screen too.
That's a good question. I think it might be
Linus
an inch bigger.
brought a Switch.
Switch screen 5.5. Yeah, it's an inch bigger.
Okay.
Let's see. Don't argue with fanboys. Proton is just as bad as cloud gaming. What is this?
What?
I guess this is just someone who is this is a very big Switch fanboy. Noting the sheer hypocrisy of putting down cloud versions of Switch games for not being native while simultaneously trying to champion Steam Deck using a wrapper like Proton, also not native. I don't think the problem that people have with cloud games is the fact they're not native.
I think it's more the local thing. I mean, if my internet shuts down because wireless broadband and I can't play my game because it's a cloud game, that sucks. Well, if it's on Proton, I can still play it.
Well, even if the internet is working, like, there's going to be, like, especially what's fucking happening today, there's going to be situations where your internet is just crapping out and you can't play it anyway. Like, even if your internet is technically functioning, I wouldn't want to play, like, any slightly, anything, like, more than just, like, a turn-based game with, like, a 200 ping. That would be unplayable.
It just kind of sucks. It's like, what am I supposed to do with this now? I can't do anything. I can run IRC just fine, but anything else, don't count on it.
Yeah, but hey, no, you could go play some cloud games. Go, I don't know, go play some Fortnite on Stadia or whatever it's on.
Yeah. Fortnite's already halfway a cloud game. You just made it even more cloudier on Stadia.
Yeah, imagine playing a multiplayer cloud game. Like, you're just adding layers upon layers of lag.
What's the point?
I don't know how it actually handles lag. I know there's sort of two ways to handle lag. You have the boomer shooter way, which is you just let the game run 300 milliseconds behind, and if you need to hit someone, you just aim 300 milliseconds ahead. Or you have the way that a lot of modern games do it, which I fucking cannot stand. I would much rather my hitboxes not line up than having rubber banding. I can't stand rubber banding. That, like, the second a game rubber bands, I just want to put it down.
Yeah, rubber banding is really janky. I'm sitting there like, think Minecraft is one example that has been really bad at it when you're playing multiplayer and you've got like that lag. It's like, okay, I'm all the way up here. Oh, I'm back here.
Yeah, or like you'll dig a hole or something and you just get shot all the way back up. Things like that. It's like, rubber banding's bad. Just let the game just be slow. Like, I'm happy with that.
Actually, when it comes to Minecraft and digging a hole, my favorite ones is when like the terrain does an update, and then all of a sudden you see those dirt blocks come back up, and you're in the same position you were in where you just dug, and it's like, I'm choking now.
One game that handles it really well is, once again, Final Fantasy. It's just like, you know what? Fuck it. You want to have 300 milliseconds ping? Well, okay. Your client's just going to be 300 milliseconds out of date with the server. That's fine.
I don't think strategy games handle it really well either, though. Age of Empires, I know, basically like shuts the game down if it's too high and is like, hey, this guy's like delayed really badly. Tell him to like stop it. Like pauses, like, do you want to, gives you like a 10-second countdown, like, do you want to drop this player now? Because they're like not catching up.
I guess that's one way to do it. Just like, fuck it. Who cares?
I think there are a couple other games like Hearts of Iron 4 that just sync, and so you got someone that's like playing over here on a completely different timeline than what the rest are playing on.
Right. I think there was one time where this was back when I had let's try to think of words first. Back when Australia had like really shitty internet, I had exceptionally shitty internet, and I was playing Battlefield 3 at like on Australian servers at like 200 ping, but it wasn't a stable 200 ping. It was like sometimes jumping up. And that was the point when I quit playing multiplayer shooters. Like, I'm just done. Like, I get angry enough playing these games anyway. I'm just gonna find something else to play and do literally anything else with my time.
Yeah, that's literally like 90% of my online gaming is just bad lag. And I think the only like also at the time the exceptions are like older games pretty much. And I think that's probably because their like packets are super small that they're sending back and forth.
Well, also the way, as I said, the way they just handle their networking is usually just don't handle it. Just let it be delayed.
Yeah. Oh, you just got these packets about this player's position. It's like, cool.
Like
System.
When you get good enough at a game like Quake, you just know that if you're 200 milliseconds behind, you just aim ahead and you'll be good.
Yeah. I know particularly for like some of those games, like sometimes you start out like really like in a position where it's like, oh, I suck, but I think there eventually comes a point where you're like, okay, I got this head.
Yeah, I feel when I play a game like Xonotic, for example, I feel like I'm good at it until like the one dude who only plays Xonotic shows up. And it's like, oh,
DT.
Yeah, he's actually surprisingly good at that game. I am surprised by like how good he is at like the various like FOSS games out there. But or like I'll just have the server running and some like rando will join and it's like, oh, I've played like 300 hours of Xenotic. Like, yeah, I can tell. I can definitely tell.
Well, if you've played Quake 3 like multiple hours when it first came out, Quake 3 Arena, and at pretty much every other like FOSS person shooter, fast-paced shooter, you've pretty much got down because that's what they're all based on.
Well, it doesn't Xenotic even have some Quake 3 maps? Like, they're not all original maps.
So. I'm pretty sure it does. And I think Xenotic might actually be a fork of Open Arena, if I remember correctly. Open Arena is basically the one that was like a direct derivative of Quake 3 Arena.
Right. Ah, yeah, okay. I haven't played this before, but I do know of it.
Yeah.
People keep bothering me to do another Xenotic stream. I should do one at some point.
Yeah. See, I think Open Arena was kind of one of the first ones that I like installed when I like got on Linux. Like the first thing I did was games. What games are there? And when you've got, I think this was before the Ubuntu Software Center too. So you're stuck with Synaptic trying to find games on it, which is a marginally bad experience, honestly. As you're like, okay, GUI program. It's really cool because like you've got all the stuff in one place and you don't have to think about it when you're coming from Windows. At the same time, it's like something better comes along, like Software Center later on. It's like, wow.
Well, this is where you just go and like search forums to find stuff and you don't try to look for it yourself.
True, except most of the forums I was on at the time, everybody's like, ditch Linux, go to Windows, blah, blah, blah.
Ah, okay. Actually,
and when you don't want parental controls.
That kind of reminds me of the comment section of Linus's videos where he's talking about switching to Linux, like the recent WAN shows.
Oh yeah.
Whenever he mentions Linux, that like half the comments are, Linus, you have no idea about Linux, you're a moron, stop talking about Linux, you're wrong about this. The other half is, Linus, stop using Linux, Windows the best operating system, go back to Windows. Like, no, like, I'm actually really excited for this first video where Linus said that, in the WAN show, he said that this first video is going to really piss off the hardcore Linux guys. And I hope it does.
I mean, he's going at it from the point of view where, like, he's starting from ground zero with no help.
Yeah.
Which most everybody starts at.
Yeah.
And he's, like, really looked at articles as well. Which, when I first started, that stuff wasn't even, like, around. Like, hardly any YouTube stuff or anything. I mean, the most you had was, like, maybe the occasional tutorial with, like, the text YouTube tutorials with Crazy Train in the background.
Fucking
that's
freestyler.
Just the standard one that everybody did.
Yeah, the resources that are available nowadays are actually, like, there's places where they could be worked on. That's sort of why I make my videos. But honestly, like, what you have nowadays is actually really good. Like, I can sit here and complain about the Arch Wiki being a mess and the Gen 2 Wiki just being better. But at the end of the day, both resources are better than not having resources in the first place.
When I moved to an Arch-based distro and, like, found the Arch Wiki, that changed a lot of things for me, too. Because, like, a lot of things were like, okay, search for it, Google it, and this, that, and the other, and, like, hope to find something that isn't a 5-year-old article. They're now, like, 10, 15-year-old articles.
Like, there are parts of the Arch Wiki that sort of have been left to the wayside, but most of the like the big stuff does frequently get updated.
The only thing that bothers me is that like occasional troubleshooting thing where I'm going through the wiki and I'm like, this is like working. I've tried this, and this. And I realized I was kind of stupid and overlooked something, and then it fixes. Like, oh, it was really simple. I'm stupid again.
There's, or it's something that's not in the wiki because it was just like a mistake you made in setting it up rather than like an actual mistake, an actual problem with the program.
There are a couple where I found, and this is mostly on the pinephone, which is like super like early still in some things.
Yeah.
But like SXMO, they're working on using Sway's a backend or in place of DWM for Wayland. And so some of the migration from SXMO to SWMO is kind of weird, and it's like I'm not sure what's going on, but it's not working. So I like do the script thing, and like it goes through and does its thing, and it's like I'm gonna sit here and wait it out until something fixes at this point.
The fuck am I looking at? I just found SXMO. This is like actually fucking peak
DWM.
It is
for
peak
the
Linux user.
pinephone. Yes.
See.
It's kind of the one where it's like, okay, I like this a little bit more than some of the other options.
Like, as much as I like, you know, D menu and like the DWM look. Why is this video not loading? I don't want that on my phone. Oh, here we go. Video's loading now. Yeah, this is this is technically a mobile interface. I see a terminal window. I see literally ST running on it. This is ridiculous. I love it. Like this, I kind of want to buy a pinephone just to do something stupid like this. But like this is not a good phone interface.
It is still very janky.
Yeah.
It works. Like early SXMO people complained because it was very heavy, like button based.
Right.
So you're sitting there using the power button and volume buttons a lot. And then they added touch gestures, which changed a lot of things. So you can like adjust the brightness and things like that with touch gestures now.
Okay, I must be looking. This video they have on there must be an older video then, because it's just like constantly using the audio rocker.
That would be an older one then.
Oh wait, no, it's okay, no, it's showing that is still there, but you also still have okay, you do have access to gestures. Okay.
Yeah. I thought of using the gesture daemon on my ThinkPad to mess around with it. I'm still like not quite sure about that, but I've taken the keyboard and like, okay, on-screen keyboard, got that, because you're trying to use the ThinkPad in tablet mode, you don't have access to the keyboard. There are just a couple other things I'm trying to figure out with that to make it just screen stuff futile.
So how is the pinephone? What is the pinephone experience like?
I haven't used it as a daily driver yet. I have plugged my SIM card into it. So depending on the phone network, you have to like adjust the network settings for your cellular network. It's odd, but at the same time it makes sense. Because some of that just isn't automatically set in, even though it wants to be. So, like, to get data, I had to change the phone network name so that I could actually connect to data, but calls and texts come in just fine. We've barely done, like, MMS, but still find Plasma kind of janky, even though it's the official, like, official interface for the pinephone. And it's like, I still can't get behind it. I like Foch a little bit better than the Plasma. And then SXMO is just like the kind of fun one to play around with.
Yeah, like this I presume the picture they have on their website would be Plasma then. The this looks like a phone interface. Like, that looks functional. It doesn't look like a modern version of Android, but, like, it looks, you know, a couple of versions old. It looks like you can use it.
It's usable for asthma. It's just kind of weird because the pinephone is still, like, a low-powered device. So sometimes the applications take longer to start up than you want them to.
Right.
Especially when you're running it off of an SD card.
Yeah, phone specs are kind of weird to compare because I don't really know what the reference point is here. Like, oh, it's a ARM Cortex A53. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah. I don't remember exactly, like, what that means, but it means that it doesn't run as fast as you would expect it, is what I know.
Yeah. I kind of want to get one. Like, I've been thinking about getting one. Just not like my main phone. Like, I like my Chinese spyware phone. It does everything I need it to do. But I think there'd be a lot of fun content with the pinephone. Especially messing around with things like SXMO, for example.
Oh. It's just odd setup, somewhat. But it does the odd setup somewhat well. It keeps getting smoother is what's nice. So, like, I think Waydroid was the more recent thing that was optimized on it. So, like, you can actually run your... Rather than using Anbox with, like, Xorg and having to worry about that, you're running your Android emulator in Wayland as a front end, and then it uses Lineage OS for the image as well. You're not sitting there running this like janky app manager. You're actually running Android per se in it, but then it can containerize the apps, so it's like an app on your phone instead of trying to do this janky setup to get the icons to work on your home screen.
It's still very obviously like very beta, but there's clearly something being done here to make it work.
And Android apps run somewhat smoothly now on it too. So now someone's got like an Android build for the pinephone specifically. They're somewhat being up on.
So what you're saying is I could try to play Fortnite on it. It won't run very well.
No, it won't.
I wonder if you could play Among Us slightly well. Among Us is a much less demanding game.
You might be able to play it slightly well, but I still wouldn't bank on it.
Maybe you should go back and play like an early version of Temple Run then. Back from like 2013.
I would probably stick to the portrait games, because what I've been able to see, Waydroid doesn't work too well with landscape.
Right.
Unless it's just the weird way that like Fosh is messing with it, that it doesn't tell it we're in landscape now.
Okay. Yeah, that that does sound a bit messy. I don't know, does it? I wonder how you would capture the screen on this though. I know it has USB-C. I don't know if you can do... Oh, wait, no. DisplayPort alternate mode output. So you can do DisplayPort over USB-C, I guess.
It basically has the convergence dock that you can get into it. It's got your Ethernet and USB stuff on it.
Right, so I could go from that into my Ava Media or something like that.
You can... So it'll basically take the external display that you have, and then display that rather than the phone screen itself. So you're using the phone screen as kind of an auxiliary app drawer. You could. And then you've got the main screen where you're doing all your other stuff with the keyboard and whatnot.
Okay. Because I know there are videos...
It's still kind of really janky.
Yeah, I know there are videos on the pinephone, so there's clearly ways to do this, but I expect it to be very janky.
Apparently, SWMO, the Wayland counterport to SXMO, runs really well, but I haven't been able to get that set up, like I said.
SWMO.
Well, it's gonna be under SXMO stuff.
Okay.
LinMob actually did a blog post about it. Copy
here we
link
go.
address.
SWMO Wayland version. Can we? Okay, so the main idea is to have main SXMO features over sway. So DWM config would be sway config, D menu would be B menu, SVKB would be WVKB, list GD would be list GD, conky would be conky.
Apparently, they're working on getting Conky working under Wayland. But yeah.
That's what it says right here, yeah. I'm reading a ticket for SWMO. Huh. This list of like software is the reason why Linux doesn't have much support. It's just like this. This is just like a vomiting out letters.
We named our software acronyms. That's about it.
Yep.
What does the acronym mean? It's what it does and the software backend it is. What does that mean? So WVKBD is Wayland Virtual Keyboard.
Yep. Fucking NCM PCPP is my favorite nonsense one. Honestly, I don't even know what it stands for, to be honest.
It's like N-curses.
Here we go. N-curses, music player, plus. Well, what is N-curses then?
Yeah.
NCM PCPP.
But it's a really good MPC front end. So
It is, yes. I do like it.
Can't complain.
Wait, did you send something? Yes, you did. Okay, yes. Here we go.
He posted a screenshot of what his setup looked like when he was writing the blog post too. Somewhere in there, one of the links.
Oh, it's one of the links, is it? Okay. That's annoying. Oh, this is what it looks like. Yep, here we go. Over on Fostodon. Ooh. Oh god, he's got a fucking ThinkPad keyboard. Why wouldn't he have a ThinkPad keyboard? I don't. Can someone explain to me the ThinkPad keyboard fetish? I don't get it.
I'm not quite sure. I think it's just a thing where it's like it feels really nice and everybody likes it. So
okay. I don't know. It's weird to me. Wait. I don't think this guy has a mouse. I think he's hardcore ThinkPad keyboard and uses the track point as a mouse.
I mean, it's not a track point isn't half bad for more precise stuff. I'm not counting on it.
You want to play? Some FPS with a track point?
Oh, I already tried Morrowind for like 5 to 10 minutes with track point.
How was that experience?
It's almost like playing Morrowind on Xbox, except you're using your finger to move it instead of your thumb.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. Like it basically is a thumbstick, just a smaller one.
And it's in the middle of your keyboard. You don't have the luxury of like pressing the mouse buttons with your fingers. You've got one thumb that has to span both buttons.
Right. Yeah, that doesn't seem like a good way. Hey, maybe it's a great way to interact. I don't know, but it doesn't seem like a good one.
I mean, it works in situations where like you don't have much space for a mouse. But other than that, it's like for full-time use, no.
Well, this guy was clearly like a hardcore DWM guy, so he probably does a lot of stuff with like keyboard shortcuts. I've sort of like I guess merged the mouse and the window manager sort of workflow. I like having my mouse, but having the the window manager stuff in there is also nice. Like, I like shortcutting everything that I can, but being able to do stuff with my mouse a lot of the time is just gonna be more convenient.
There are some situations where like a game like locks the mouse. The only thing that gets me out of that is the fact that I can like switch the screen with a keyboard shortcut and be like, okay, mouse is over here now. You're not focused anymore, game. Keep going, doing what you're doing. I'm going to mess with this over here. Switch videos and then back over here.
I've actually run into some games in Proton that when you defocus, the game just like stops. It just freezes. It's like, oh, okay, move the mouse back, works fine. It just doesn't want to run without the mouse being focused.
And then there are some games where it just crashes when it doesn't have focus. Skyrim.
I haven't seen one like that. That would be annoying.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I'm banking on you hating me about to do this, so I'm going to save right now. Mostly Bethesda games. And so I'm going to move over here, then come back over here. You're going to die. May as well just save and quit, switch the thing over here, and load up and back up again. Because I'm running you off of a SSD anyway.
I've noticed that some stuff in PCSX doesn't always play nicely. Like, I play with a PS4 controller. Sometimes if I touch the trackpad in the center, the game just crashes.
Oh.
I don't know.
It's weird.
I usually just, like, every couple of minutes I will save state just because of that. But, I don't know. I like the PS4 controller. I get it. It's small. But I grew up with PlayStation controllers. And I kind of like them. I'm used to the offset sticks at this point, but every time I go back to a PS4 controller, I always just get used to it pretty much straight away.
And then, depending on the program or emulator, whatever, it'll actually take the controller and it'll just hold on to it. So you can defocus over here and still continue playing your game with the controller, which is really nice when that happens.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure PCSX does that. Obviously, it wouldn't if you were, like, using the keyboard, but, like, using the controller, because, like, you don't need a controller for, like, your regular system, so there's no point letting that focus go.
There are some things that kind of weird. Like, Lutris, you don't always have, like, the luxury of, like, running a controller straight up because of the way it works. And I think Wine has it implemented now built in where a controller should automatically work. Still run SD controller anyway for my mappings to do Xbox controller stuff. So that if I want to play Dark Souls through Lutris, I can. So my brother downloads Dark Souls Prepare to Die Edition. So I set up a prefix in Lutris for it with the FS hack running. So I can get it full screen without like readjusting my whole doggone resolution. And then it works just fine, pretty smooth. The only thing left to do is make sure the controller works, and it works flawlessly.
If I wanted to play, go back and play Dark Souls 1, what would be the best version to play? I'd actually own it on PC.
I think most people would say Prepare to Die Edition. There's Prepare to Die Edition, which I haven't like gotten very far into. Then I've got Dark Souls Remastered on Switch as well, which I haven't gotten very far into. I think a lot of people prefer Prepare to Die Edition in spite of having remastered, because probably nostalgia and partially like usually do janky stuff with remastered editions of games.
It seems like they both work fine
sure.
under Proton. Remastered seems like it has a better rating, but yeah, because I want to go back and play it at some point. It's just I wasn't sure which version. I know the original version of the game was jank as hell.
That's why people probably like it more over the other one, but it might the Proton rating might be partially due to some of that jank, because I don't think Proton always adjusts for game jank.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just running it with the straight wine provided through Lutris that has the full screen hacky stuff in it too.
Right. So what is this full screen hack? Does the game just not work in full screen otherwise?
Oh, so full screen hack is what Valve does with Proton.
Right.
So it's that thing where like it upscales the game if the game is too small for your monitor. Instead of like your monitor changing resolutions, Valve is like, well, why do we need to do that when we can just like create a pseudo window and full screen that instead?
Right. Okay.
So that FS hack was ported to regular wine that Lutris uses in some cases as well.
Okay.
So Valve made it, everybody else co-opted it, and it's in basically anything for gaming now. Plus
I
some
didn't
other
even know about
things.
that.
It's really, really cool, which is why I would run some games in Proton versus like using regular wine. But since it's available in regular wine now, I'll just like figure out what runs best, Proton or whatever I can figure out with Lutris.
Going back, okay, so this is 3 years ago with Steam Play Proton 4.2. Huh. Okay, there's just a lot of really cool stuff I just didn't know about, I guess.
So now old Windows games force you to resize your resolution, hardware monitor resolution. Linux doesn't, which is a win in my book.
Right, yeah, there are games like... Yeah, there is older games like that, isn't there? Of course. I completely forgot that was even a thing.
And there are some of those older games where the menu screen is a set like resolution period, and so it's always readjusting that resolution when you go back into the menu stuff. Then when you go into the actual gameplay, you can resize it to like 1080p or whatever. It just like is really janky when it does that. This just simplifies it and says, nah, we don't need to worry about that.
That makes sense. That might be why certain games report like really weird resolutions with my window manager sometimes. Like they will detect the size of the window when I first started the game, but not when it's actually full screen. But it's still running at that full screen resolution. But
I have some games that like that tile in. Like it's like it comes in master tile, and it's like okay, and then all I have to do is full screen it, and it's fine with the window manager.
Yeah, some games do tile properly, I've noticed. Others are like, no. What do you mean fucking 960 by 1080? What is that? That's not a resolution.
Some games want to float, some games tile, some games go to full screen automatically, and it's just weird. So like one example is Kenshi. And running through Proton will basically go in and set to tile. So you get like really stretched, weird aspect ratio stretching with the intro stuff. And then once you like full screen it, it's just fine because you have it set to the normal resolution. It always starts out windowed.
I think my favorite bit of jank was Crystar, where if you open it up in like a small window, it will just say, fuck it, don't care about that, we're running at 1080, and we'll just show you, like, that small window portion of the game. But that's just at that point. Once you've full screened, never unfull screen it, because if you do, then it actually will lower the resolution. So, if you unfull screen it, it goes to, like, a 480 window. Full screen the game, it'll be locked at 480. The option menu doesn't let you change it. You change it to 1080, and it's like, no. We're running at 480 now. Doesn't matter.
I know there's some source games, native source games, that do the same thing. Where, like, it'll come up, well, no, this is when it loses focus. It, like, shrinks the window super hard down. Because it'll start full screen and, like, shrink it down. And it's like, the UI and everything is scaled to that size. And then you just full screen it back and it's fine. It doesn't do the resizing thing at all, so it stays at like 1080p or whatever.
Yeah. Actually, one last thing I want to talk about before we actually go. There's a list that has been compiled about games that are supporting anti-cheat. What was it called? AC compatibility list. That one. Here we go. I'll send it to you.
Still waiting on that Halo.
Yeah, that's a while away.
Well, Season 8 for Halo Master Chief Collection should be coming out tomorrow, which I would hope they did the checkbox for it so that it was enabled.
Yeah, I don't expect that to happen. I really don't. But there's a lot of stuff that's not.
Yeah.
And it's kind of sad, but some devs have said, yeah, we're gonna look into it. Others like, nah, which is nah.
Well, I mean, 343 expressed interest in having Halo work on the Steam Deck.
Oh, did
like,
they?
The sooner they get that, yeah. Because it's like, that's a whole market of people. It's like, I can take my Halo with me. So they build the player base even more.
Yeah.
And then you add on Halo Infinite on top of it, and if they're able to play it on the Steam Deck, it just means they sell even more because now people are going to buy it because they can play it on the Steam Deck.
Well, in that case, they might just be waiting for the Steam Deck to release.
Which would be really stupid for testing purposes.
Well, they've got dev kits, so they can test it themselves. And then when it comes out for the users and they discover there's an edge case, well, fuck, we didn't think that one through.
Do they really have dev kits, though, is the question.
Dev kits were being sent out a couple of weeks ago, and some devs have actually got them, are showing their games working on them. There was a Chinese reviewer site that released numbers on it. We're not sure if the numbers are real, but they claim they were real. And they look like the values they are showing don't look ridiculous. Like, they look, judging by like what we know about the hardware, they look like where they should be.
Got to look inside a little bit at the insides with the hardware too, so...
Well, make sure you don't kill yourself when you open it, though. Don't touch the battery.
I know. Make sure that you run away from the battery really slowly, because that's about as long as it's going to take to explode on you.
I know some people like sort of memeing about that, but like the reason why they were saying that is because they were covering their asses. It was a joke, and they were covering their asses.
Yeah. I mean, there's some things where they had to like make sure that like, okay, just say this, this, and this. It's probably one of those like legal or like not tech people things that are sane to say all this, and so they're just appeasing the gods that be at like marketing or whatever. And so it's like, we know you people aren't dumb, so here's how to do this, this, and this.
The video wasn't actually shot that well, though. Like, they jumped back and forth a couple of times. Like, they would show, like, something. I think they showed the thumbstick removed, and then the thumbstick was back on the Steam Deck, and they went forward again. It's sort of like shot the same way, like, the Verge PC build was shot, but just the guy running it wasn't as incompetent.
I know some people complained about that watched it on YouTube. Like, Linus complained about it.
Yeah.
I think Louis Rossman had a couple complaints about it, but it was mostly due to what they were saying about like batteries exploding and stuff. Then I think that's about the most that I've watched, but it's pretty much like really the person recording it understands like the people opening it are going to know what to do.
Yeah.
They understand the risk that there is.
Like, with the battery, the only way to get that thing to explode is if you take that screwdriver and you, like, fucking stab it like that. Sure, that'll make it explode. Absolutely.
Louis Rossman had a video that he showed of one of his dudes. He borrowed a prying tool from him and messed up that tool. And so, literally, the dude's working on a MacBook and punctures the battery, and the battery just starts to smoke and fizzle, and the dude, like, walks away.
Like,
okay, I'm gonna get away from this thing. It's like starting to smoke on me. Like, then a split second, like, okay, I'm out. See ya.
well, yeah, like, you're not gonna die instantly, especially with a battery that small. Like, if it was a laptop battery, that's a different story. Like, those are very big batteries. Clearly the Steam Deck, the battery in it isn't that big.
But it's supposed to squeak out a few hours of performance out of it.
Yeah,
So
I don't know what the actual numbers are going to be like. Linus did hint at them doing something. I don't know if that's going to be their own teardown or early benchmarks or something like that. I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm very excited to see like actual real world benchmarks. Like, hey, if I am playing a Doom, how long can I play for?
it's true. Haven't pre-ordered.
I haven't either.
It's like it's really on the list there of things I want to pick up. Especially the way that Valve has worked out the pre-order system is just like, I don't know why people haven't thought of this before. I think they've got their like bases covered for what they're doing. If something won't run that well, you can find a way to get it to run, or otherwise you're stuck streaming it. I think to some extent Valve might find a way for like cloud streaming to work on it so that you don't have to do it yourself if you don't have the hardware for it.
I think a lot of people are looking just at the Steam Deck hardware itself, but like even though Linux doesn't have like native clients for things like Stadia, it runs in the browser.
And they said that we'd have access to the desktop anyway.
Yeah.
We can install all our favorite things on it.
That fucking reminds me. I've had some people trying to justify to me that like the Steam Deck isn't actually a full computer and it's not actually running full Linux. Like, Linus has literally showed you running running KDE. It is a fucking Linux computer. Like, there's nothing special about it.
It's a tablet, Linux tablet with cool controller stuff on it.
Like, if you plug it into an external display, it will just run KDE. There's nothing... Like, it looks like it's stock KDE. That might be early stuff. Like, they might have changed it. But it's just running KDE. There's nothing special about it.
And apparently that was for the reason for performance reasons, because apparently KDE has this thing where it, like, will shut off, like, compositing performance for games specifically.
It kind of would have been funny if they just went, like, hardcore down the performance and ran, like, DWM or something.
No compositor, just straight DWM.
Yeah. No, screw it. No DWM, just run Steam as the root Xorg window.
You know people are going to install DWM on it, then run it that way.
Absolutely. I actually kind of want to like have a look at SteamOS as it's like when the SteamOS ISO comes out, like for SteamOS 3. I want to see what it's like, because I guarantee, like, I want to just see how fucking boring it is.
It's an Arch-based distro, so does Steam have the stuff to run Pac-Man for updates and stuff?
Yeah, that's
Would be
what
the
I'm
other
curious
question.
about. I don't know how they're handling updates. Like, a lot of people are telling me, oh, it's Arch-based. Like, okay, that's cool, but that doesn't, like... People think that it being Arch-based inherently means that it's a rolling release. That's not what it means whatsoever. They can make it Arch-based and then do batch updates. Like, they don't have to directly connect it by default to the Arch repos.
Although I'm pretty sure it would be pretty easy to do it, but
Well, yeah.
It's a simple matter of how are they running the updates, because you know they have to do OS updates, not just Steam updates for it.
I'm curious what they're doing. They just have a fucking cron job running in the background. They're just installing shit. They're doing more than that, surely. They would probably have their... I can't imagine they are using Pac-Man directly. I would assume they have some sort of... My guess is they have batch updates. They sort of slow down the Arch updates that come in, but they still give you access to Pac-Man. But generally, it's just going to be slowed down, and they will roll in as they roll in. I do wonder if
Well,
they're going to be...
another
Sorry?
option is if they have their own Pac-Man repos that they're pulling from, and they just batch it out that way.
Yeah, that seems like the most obvious. Like the same thing that like Manjaro does, where they still connect to the like you can connect it to the Arch repos, but they also have the Manjaro repos.
Yeah, you
Hopefully
better
they're
make
better
sure you have like all the right stuff installed if you like go from Manjaro to Arch though, because otherwise it's going to try to revert to Manjaro again.
Yeah. There's a lot of like really interesting implementation details that I'm intrigued with. I want to know what they're doing because they haven't really talked about that. Like a lot of the obviously so, a lot of the marketing material early on has been very much like the gamer focused marketing material. I sort of want to see like the Linux focused stuff. Like how are we getting this to work? Like what do we have to do? Is it doing automatic updates? Is it going to ask the user to update? Like how are we handling this?
Apparently, the Valve YouTube channel should have stuff coming down. Is going to show more stuff off. I'm not sure if that's in it, but if they showed off replacing like the SSD and joystick, then I don't see why like installing another OS or like other things like that wouldn't be a part of it down the road.
Yeah, well, obviously they've already confirmed like doing that's going to be a thing you can do. Whether they make a video on it is another question entirely. Someone will, like, day one, there's going to be a video. I wish I'd bought a Steam Deck because of this. Day one, there's going to be a 1 million view video, how to install Windows on the Steam Deck.
So someone actually argued this point on the Halo Waypoint forums, because I kind of been looking at it to check for EAC updates. And someone's like, okay, people are like, well, just install Windows on the Steam Deck. It's like, okay, you don't get it. Valve has built an OS that is optimized for the Steam Deck. If you just go and install Windows on it, you lose out on those optimizations. You lose out on those performance fixes. And plus, Windows has a habit of like wanting to like take over everything just to do its update.
I kind of wonder how, like, what the trackpads are being reported as. Like, if you did install Windows on it, would those be detected as a mouse? Or would they just not do anything?
I would imagine so. The Steam controller, when you don't have Steam running, basically goes into what they call wizard mode, which basically, because it sounds like really like janky, like not smooth trackball. But it basically does a keyboard and mouse input is what it does. Well, the one pad is a mouse. The other one, I think, was like arrow keys or something. And then the joystick was something else and just a couple basic controls is all.
So you would imagine that the Steam Deck running Windows probably reports itself as like a Steam controller, or like they would add an extra section for the Steam Deck and make it effectively do the same thing as the Steam controller.
Would think so, but being as they have the dual joysticks and dual touchpads, they might do something different with one touchpad and have like a mouse click with mouse trackpad with the other, and then the controller could be a normal controller. But
yeah, those are two videos that are going to be like 1 million view videos, and I wish I had a Steam Deck day one because of that.
How to migrate your Steam Deck from SteamOS to Artix.
Wait, so we can have 3 videos. We can have how to install Windows on the Steam Deck, how to reinstall SteamOS on the Steam Deck, and how
installing Gen 2.
Installing Gen 2. No, someone is going to do that day one though. Maybe day 2. Anyway, how the Steam Deck acts under how the Steam Deck controller acts under Windows.
Anybody that installs Windows on the Steam Deck, I think, is really, really dumb if they do it. Well,
Yeah,
the games run better. It's like you're losing out on a lot by doing that.
I think a lot of people are talking about it'll run better just because like Windows games typically do run not even in every case. A lot of the time Proton does just run better than the Windows title just because like Linux is typically just going to be lighter.
Well, the other problem is like a lot of people complain that like their old games that they have on Steam just break on Windows. And you can usually find something with Proton or Wine that will work just fine and run the game perfectly. Like Proton, Wine, you name it.
Well, yeah, because Proton...
That's not something Windows does.
Like, Wine's not a... Like, I think this is something a lot of people misunderstand. Wine is a Windows emulation... Oh, it's not an emulation. It's a translation. Wine is not an emulation. Anyway, it is a Windows translation layer. It's not a Windows 10 translation layer. Like, it's made to work with Windows 10, Windows 8, Windows 7, Windows Vista. Like, that's what Wine is. Like, it's not made just to run Windows 10 stuff. A lot of those older titles that just don't work under Windows anymore will work under Wine. They might require tweaking, sure, but that's better than what you'll get with just not working altogether. It's like, oh, you just don't have 32-bit libraries enabled anymore. You just can't use this.
And that's one, I know I brought this up in a video with like FS Hack, was like, here's like a bunch of older games that's running just fine on Wine. It's marginal whether they work just fine on Windows.
I'm excited for the Steam Deck. Like, as the big thing that got me excited for the Steam Deck isn't the Steam Deck itself. I do like the idea of a mobile I do like this idea of like mobile gaming as like a mobile PC gaming as a format. I kind of want to see this like grow, but the thing that makes me excited is just more people on Linux gaming, more people to encourage developers to actually properly support products. Not making native versions. I don't give a shit about native versions, but making sure the game works in Proton. Not intentionally breaking it. Not intentionally using DRM systems and anti-cheat systems that don't work. Or if they do, encouraging these developers of those systems to actually make their shit work properly under Linux.
And most of the other portable things run Windows, but this one, everybody's excited for like the Steam Deck. It runs Linux. And see, eventually down the road, Linux gets big enough, like with gaming, and developers will basically be forced to learn to optimize and do native Linux gaming instead of running through Proton.
I don't have any hope for native stuff. I've never really cared for it. I'm happy for the games to run. That's my end goal. I get the appeal of the native stuff, but it's just I think that Proton's going to encourage less developers to do native. That's sort of where I stand with it.
Yeah. I mean, they're definitely going to have to learn to like optimize for Proton.
Sure, yeah.
And I mean, is it possible that Windows gets dropped out? Microsoft is making a lot of mistakes, so we'll see.
Well, that's why Valve initially wanted to do the whole Linux support in the first place, because they the reason why they initially did the Steam machines, this was way back when Microsoft was first rolling out like the Microsoft App Store and first testing out Universal Windows apps and things like that. And like, what's it called? Universal Windows Platform? Doesn't matter. Whatever it's called.
Yeah.
That was back when they were first doing that, and Gabe Newell was like, well, at some point, Microsoft might go down the Apple route and sort of lock it down and require you to, like, I guess you don't have to use the App Store on, or what is it called? Whatever the App Store's called on macOS. You don't have to use it, but the vast majority of software distribution is through that center.
Yeah. And I can see them going down that route, being as they're like, okay, now everybody goes through us and we get a cut of everything that everybody installs and buys. I think that's why they're going down that route, because it generates more revenue. I think one part that kind of will cut into it is with the Epic ruling between Apple and Epic, where like Epic lost in like, well, you agreed to the terms, and so you have to pay up your 30% portion, but then the court also turns to Apple and said, percent in-app purchase thing, that's too predatory. You can't do that. So I think by subverting that, they are also avoiding that like thing where it's like, well, we have to pay for license just to be able to put our stuff up as well. They have to do that here with Linux. It's like in every repo, pretty much. Steam is, and for free because the community maintains most of it.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, there's one kind of funny thing with Epic. Tim Sweeney initially came out and said, "Well, I really like the Steam Deck. The Steam Deck is a cool device. We're gonna make EAC work on the Steam Deck." There's been no word on Fortnite working on the Steam Deck yet, or the Epic Game Store coming natively to Linux.
I thought, see, it was forever ago. Epic said they wanted Linux to be like top gaming. There's been nothing for like 10, 15 years on that. It's like, where's your Linux love? Where Valve does it, and it's like all of a sudden, oh, we need to jump on that.
Well, Epic, if they wanted to, could very easily just decide, okay, we are going to make all of our games work through Proton. We are going to release the Epic Game Store under Linux. We are going to integrate Proton into the Epic Game Store, and we are going to help develop this project. They could do that. Like, Epic has the Fortnite money to do this.
Huh? Like, if Valve has the money to do it, they definitely do. Especially, like, all that Tencent money that Epic has. It's like, why? It took Valve going and talking to them and saying, hey, make anti-cheat work to, like, even remotely, like, do anything. Even though Easy Anti-Cheat was already Linux native, it, I guess, worked marginally, but they've forced to improve it because
it was Linux native. It didn't work through Wine though. So the native version Wine worked. The native version worked, but the Windows binary didn't work through Wine.
It's still ridiculous. It's like, you're getting the numbers on these and how many people are playing your game in Proton, as it all says Linux, and you have no binary for it. So why?
I
have to say, though, UE4 does allow you to export for Linux native, but whether it's good or not is debatable.
Yeah, some people have told me, I've brought that point up before, like, that's why I don't care about native, because it's not just hit export and it's done. Like, you actually do have to go and, like, optimize it for Linux. People have told me, but you can just export it. Like, well, no, you just can't. You can. Yeah, a lot of games will just work. But when you get into, like, complex netcode stuff and things like that, it's not just going to work.
Well, part of the problem, too, is if you're developing from Windows in Unreal Engine, you've got to, like, do a couple extra linking stuff in order to get that export to Linux to work.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not like Godot or Unity that have a binary prepackaged and just put in data files to make it run and go.
I don't know. Linux native would be cool, but I'm not hoping. I'm not holding out hope for it. I'm happy to just play my video games and be happy. As long as I can do that, we're good.
If it'll run smoothly, I'm happy. That's the least I want.
Well, that's a good note to end the podcast on. We've just gone past. We're actually 12 minutes past 2 hours now. Yeah, that's pretty much it then. Where can the people find you?
I'm on Twitch, YouTube. I've got my PeerTube instance, and then, like, Pleroma is where I'm more active. Like, on Twitter. Twitter is basically like cobwebs at this point, so those are kind of the main places, basically.
Yeah. As for me, you can find me on my main channel, that is Brody Robertson. My gaming channel, Brody Robertson Plays. This podcast is available as a audio release basically anywhere, and the video release is available on YouTube and Odyssey. Also, shout out to my patrons. All you guys are awesome. Thank you for being cool. And I think that's going to be pretty much it for me then. Do you have anything else you want to say?
Subscribe.
Yep, sure. Subscribe. Cool. We end it there then. See you guys later.